The Center for Advanced Studies in Child Welfare at the School of Social Work at the University of Minnesota presents a module by Dr. Ronald Rooney and Vienna Rothberg. Working with Young Parents in Foster Care, Lessons Learned. There are two main objectives for this module. First, to understand the unique challenges facing young parents in the foster care system, and second, to learn from the experiences of both workers and former clients to increase positive outcomes in this population. Literature concerning work with teen parents and teens in foster care will frame our discussion. This module draws on two focus group discussions conducted in the spring of 2008. One with workers working with young parents in foster care, and another with former clients, mothers who were in the foster care system when they became parents. Throughout the module, we will highlight practical examples of challenges and successes that former clients and child welfare workers offered within the focus group setting. The Teen Parent Support Network supports teen parents in Illinois who are themselves wards of the state and in the foster care system. These teens are entitled to weekly sessions with a caseworker to assist them in preparing to emancipate with education and job skills. Our panel of workers represents nearly 70 years of experience in child welfare. The caseworkers seen in this video represent several teams that are designated to work with young parents. They were nominated by their supervisors as especially skilled at engaging young parents in foster care. Our former clients were chosen as well for their history of personal success, including successfully graduating from high school and successfully raising their children. The young mothers in this video had been clients of the program and have since emancipated. Our presentation today is focused on working with both young men and young women. Our panel consists of young mothers only, but our workers work with both young women and men. There is a growing body of research on the particular needs of teens who are parenting. Another body of research focuses on the needs of teens in the foster care system. Teen parents in the foster care system face the compounded and demanding tasks of developing as a healthy young person, a strong parent, and an independent adult, often with less consistent guidance than those raised in more traditional family structures or those who delay parenting. Parents who are in the foster care system face the additional challenges of often unstable family support and reliance on state structures to meet basic needs such as housing, food, and clothing. The additional pressure parenting teens face is to provide these basic needs for their children as well, often without lengthy or strong preparation for parenting, employment, or independence. Let's look at what current literature suggests about teens in foster care. Teens in the foster care system experience significantly higher rates of past abuse and neglect. They are more poorly prepared for higher education, employment, and independent living than other teens. And for young women aging out of the child welfare system, motherhood may provide a valuable and desirable opportunity for identity development and healing within a familial context. Current literature on parenting teens suggests that the relationship between educational success and pregnancy is reciprocal. This is to say that one influences the other. Doing well in school reduces the chance of pregnancy, and becoming pregnant reduces the chance for doing well in school. Also, meaningful membership in community is negatively associated with pregnancy. In other words, improved employment opportunities and engagement at school can reduce both first and second pregnancies. Building relationships with mentors, teachers, friends, and family can reduce the chance of pregnancy among young people. Finally, parent training is positively associated with educational attainment. In other words, attending parenting classes can help to increase the number of years a young person will attend school. In both literature and both of the focus groups we conducted, practical guidance emerged about what kinds of qualities are common among the most successful workers. Successful workers are often genuine, consistent, trusting, non-threatening, and both willing and able to follow the client's lead. In this first clip, a child welfare worker, Susan, outlines her methods for establishing a relationship with a client.
Basically, gather the information I can about them and really meet them where they are at in life. I tend to use a lot of humor to break the ice, and that seems to be pretty helpful. I also think building a relationship with your clients is really important too, because they need to look at you as a person and not just their worker. They need to know that you're doing this and that you genuinely care about what happens to them and that you're not just collecting a paycheck, as they say.
Susan and other case managers mentioned using humor, motivating and encouraging, and allowing the client to see you as a person to develop a sense of trust and care in the relationship. In this second clip, a child welfare worker, Ronita, discusses the humility that she brings to the relationship. It's important to understand that a client's history may include both positive and reliable relationships and unstable and traumatic relationships.
Relationship building, the trust, working on the trust, and then definitely the follow-through. Because where they come from, they feel that they've been let down so much. They can't trust anyone. And workers change like drinking water, like every day. So who am I to come in and I'm non-threatening, non-judging.
Both our focus groups stress the importance of establishing trust and building a relationship early in the work. In this next clip, child welfare worker Nicole expands on how to connect with a client.
I think it's important to take an interest in things that they like and take them outside of their environment. For instance, like if I get a voucher, I'll take the client to where they want to go, Burlington, and I'll have them pick stuff out and we'll spend the day together. I mean, it's easy to just let the caregiver do it because, you know, it's hours that you spend and you don't really need to spend, but I think that when you get them outside of the home or their neighborhood or in their environment and you take an interest in the things that they like, I think that they're more apt to build rapport with you.
And they talk more.
Right.
Nicole addresses the issue of using time to go shopping with a client. While she admits this is an investment in time that might be beyond the expectation of an agency, she has found great value in the use of this time in terms of building a relationship and gaining greater access to a client. This kind of relationship building, while time-intensive, emerged over and over as an important strategy for working with this population. Negotiating change is one of the most consistent challenges of development. In this first clip, the panel of workers agree that it is important to watch for a difference in ability and action.
I know that. How would I know that the person can't take the next step because they're out of their comfort zone?
It's the follow-through. It's what they say to you, it's the things that they do.
I was going to say their actions.
Right.
Their actions will speak loudly.
Okay.
Because they might say that they want to be independent, but if you know that there's things that they're able to do and that they can do and they're just not doing them.
Like I had one client, he was a male, he was one credit away from graduating from high school, and he told me, he said, "Ms. Johnson, I'm tired of school, I'm tired, I need a break." And I said, "Well, you only have one credit away, just go to summer school, make the credit up so you can graduate." "I want to graduate, but I'm tired of school." You know, and he was just, I'm tired of people pressuring me about school.
So that was his way of just hanging on
So
school
that's
because he's one credit away.
Yeah.
Right. That's your interpretation.
That's
You're saying that if
I'm
I graduate,
afraid this
then
is
they
it.
want me to go to college.
Right.
And so I'm going to
There
stay
are
right here.
there are no backsies.
And the word he used, I'm tired of people pushing me
Right.
about school.
Tired of hearing about it.
That's like a red flag.
Good question.
In this second clip, Allison talks about the process of reevaluating goals when a client does not seem to be following through.
Like school, like I have a client that in a meeting, he brought up the idea of going away to a university. But when it came down to, after that meeting, filling out the application and, putting a stamp in an envelope and sending it off, he was very hesitant, very, would stall and getting his transcripts and things like that. When, we had to reevaluate, and it could have been, that's just not what he wanted. He wanted to stay at the community college where he's at, and maybe he wants to, do more of a vocational program instead of a four-year university, so.
This clip shows the importance of paying attention to a client's changing goals and nonverbal cues or hints that goals may have changed. In this third clip, Chantal highlights this lesson with some thoughts about why clients might try to slow a process or avoid attaining a stated goal.
By individual basis. Right. And some of the things that's on the surface is really not what they're saying to you. It's just each client has a way of coping, and they're showing you through their actions how they're coping. So you may be thinking, even with that instance, he didn't want to, he's tired of school, but he may have just been saying, I don't know what the next level is going to bring, and so I'm going to stay right here because I'm afraid if I finish this, you're going to require me to, your expectation is going to be higher, you're going to want me to do something else, and I'm not ready to do something past where I am right now.
In this final clip, Nicole highlights options for encouraging self-esteem and motivation through the achievement of alternative goals.
Well, I think having other options too, there some clients, no matter how many schools you put them in or how many alternative schools or how much positive reinforcement, they're just not motivated to go to school. So I found that maybe offering a dance class, well, let's start with something smaller. Want to do a dance class once a week instead of going to school, and let's work on that. Actually being a part of something and finishing something, and then maybe that will give them more self-esteem or motivation to maybe enroll in school, but not just pushing school all the time. I think that if you're constantly, even though it's an expectation, if you're constantly you need to go to school, you need to do this, that doesn't work. Or even an art class, or finding something else for them to do that's positive, a parenting class, instead of pushing school all the time.
Sounds kind of like.
Note that Nicole mentioned taking a parenting class among the options. We know from research that taking a parenting class can increase the number of years a young person stays in school. Creating alternative and accessible goals for young people is a great growth strategy or middle step that both workers and clients mentioned as helpful toward achieving larger goals. Timing of resources and connecting with the client about goals is integral to successful outcomes. Clients may be in need of resources or may be in need of time to process next steps. In this first clip, workers talk in depth about how resources and timing plays out in the work.
Based on what you've said, my other part of this question was, well, what could have been useful during that time? And I think you've said that. Well, was it resources or more of their own effort? What I'm hearing now, it sounds like providing resources may be the least thing that's useful when people are stuck.
It's recognizing where they are and recognizing that what they're telling you. You have to count it as a worker, count it interpret on an individual basis where they are.
And it also depends on the type of resource. I think UCAN has done a good job with the mentoring. A lot of our clients enjoy that mentoring because when we're not there, that mentor picks up. And that mentor tends to stick with them when they do make that next transition, whether it's TLP or independent living. So it just depends on what type of resources and how you're going to link them with that resource.
Okay, so the kid that didn't want to go to school, the young man that didn't want to go to school, if you would have said, well, I'll get you a babysitter, I'll get you a bus card, he probably still wouldn't have gone to school.
Right.
Okay.
But the type of resource that Sabrina is talking about is that follow-up resource,
Yes.
that support system, okay? You may lose some people when you leave this environment, but guess what? When you leave here, we're going to replace that for you.
The bridge.
Right.
Exactly.
And sometimes I think just laying back and not pressure, talking about other things for a couple of weeks and just not being that person that's in their face all the time, just being supportive and listening for a while and be like, okay, let's go for a walk and talk, or let's go out to lunch and concentrate on something else and just not bring it up for a while.
Because in doing that,
Exactly.
it'll come back around anyway, and it may come up on their own.
Why you ain't saying nothing to me about school?
Right.
You know, that's we talking about everything else.
Right.
It happens. As crazy as it sounds, that's how it happens. It comes back because they know within themselves. He knows that this is what it should be.
Right,
You
right.
know,
It's
there's
just
really
giving
no
time to
reason.
bring it out.
And you just giving it time.
Time, right.
And I'm saying, I'm gonna respect your space with this, and I know that he's having some fears. You know, you kind of play it in your mind too, to kind of think on where he's coming from, and you like, okay, cause I'm feeling, you know, he's trying to hold on because he doesn't want to move on. So okay, we're gonna relax on this. We'll table this discussion and pick up somewhere else. But in the meantime, after you talking about all this, and this, and you just kind of riding along, you'll be like, what's up? You ain't said nothing to me about school in a while. So, you know, they bring it up and it's like, where's the concern now? You haven't said anything. Why aren't you talking to me about it? I think it is taking a step back, and then also just, even if you have that feeling that that's what he's trying to say to you, allow him to tell you up front, because it may have a twofold as well. He may come back around and say, you know what, Miss Ellis, I was thinking about it, and I really didn't say it before, but I'm a little scared when I graduate. So what can you put in place? What you think? You know, will it be some other people around when I go to college? You know, that's really what's wrong, you know, and not really pressuring him constantly. Well, what's wrong? You have one credit. You have one credit. You know, like constantly, like, you have one credit. You know, are you going to graduate? And then backing off and saying, okay, give him a couple of weeks. He comes back and say, okay, now here's what do you want to do? You're asking me for support systems. Let me try to give you an answer that I can give you right now. And be honest, like, I don't know, but I can get back to you and let you know, and not give them any false hope. Because that'll keep them stagnant.
Because
He's thinking, I don't
He
have
did
one
eventually
credit.
go back and finish, because he called me, he said, Miss Johnson, do you have my clothing back? I said, yes, I'm going to bring it to you today. When I brought it, he said, oh yeah, by the way, I enrolled, I was going to get my last credit to graduate.
By the way.
Connecting a young person with resources may extend the effect of the work that you do with a client. As mentioned in the previous clip, mentors are a great resource, as they often remain in a young person's life through many changes. Time the resources well. Offer resources that are within reach of the client and serve the client's needs and goals at the time. In this next clip, Chantal talks more about her experiences linking resources to create stronger support for a young person's growth.
When you set up alliances with people that are working with them also, the school, anything, their job, any community resources, and they see that everybody is on the same page, that helps too. Because then they see, like you said, that it's not just one person coming at me, and mostly we're the one that kind of get the stigma because we're the worker. But when you have somebody else in your corner and actually working with you, then they see, okay, it's not just Miss Terrell telling me that, you know, this is the right thing to do, or I need to follow through. I have two other people that are saying the same thing.
And I had experience with.
We heard from both clients and workers that a sense of working together with respect was integral to moving forward. Connect a client with resources.
Continue to be that support, be available when they call, when things are stressful and frustrating for them. You link them up with those services or people that are going to continue to provide that support. It pretty much, case management is bringing it to the client's level. You have to meet them on their level in order to open up that conversation, in order to get them to trust you so they can let you know, well, this is not going right. You're right. You were right, Sabrina. This wasn't working. This is not what I needed. And then they can move forward. But if you continue to put yourself above them and talk down at them, then they're going to rebel. And everything you can say is just going to go out one ear.
We heard from both clients and workers that a sense of working together with respect was integral to moving forward. Connect a client with resources. Work respectfully with a client on their level. Be available and be consistent. In this clip, Sabrina talks about just these processes.
I actually had a client who always wanted to live with her family. Now, I knew her family did not want her. They wanted some kind of check. They were not going to do anything good for her. But you know what? Against every single person in the case, I was like, you know what, fine. Let's go. Come on. I'm moving you with your family. I did background checks, and some of them came out clean. So I'm like, let's go. She was there like 2 days, and she was like, oh, I can't handle that. And you gotta take the bus to your appointments, no one's gonna drive you in the winter with the baby. Yeah, that's how it is in the real world.
And you can't make it any plainer than that.
Right.
Exactly.
Our children have this false sense of entitlement, that because they have been labeled
For fancy.
DCFS and this, that, the other, that they're going to be catered to, and this, that, and the other. When you see the next girl that you go to school with maybe has a baby and she's getting on the bus with her child going to daycare and this, that, why is that beneath you? You know, so you have to allow, they have to feel it.
In this case, Nicole worked through the process of implementing the client's choice and supporting her through the learning process on the outcome of the choice. It is clear that Nicole feels both deep care and frustration with this client. It should be noted that Nicole could have pushed the client away from the choice, but she allowed the client to learn for herself. This is an excellent example of how to foster growth. Behavior that may feel like entitlement, selfishness, or lack of self-reflection can be a normal developmental stage for a young person. In this first clip, we see a young mother discussing how she has accessed resources through her years in the foster care system, sometimes even talking to a case manager's supervisor. Her seeking of resources seems to be rooted in her positive experience with the system having directed her toward resources that have aided her and her child toward the kind of positive outcomes we want for our youth, including graduating high school and attending college.
They don't ask about anything that they can get. I felt that I got the best out of the system, period, because I asked. I asked about everything possible. Anything I needed help with, I asked about it. I asked about things for my, like when I needed a car seat for my child, I asked about that. Is there a way I can get one? In the summer it was too hot to even sleep in my apartment, and I would ask, is there a way I can get an air conditioner for my apartment? How can I get school paid for, daycare paid for, food, anything, ask, because, I mean, even though sometimes, you know, I didn't connect with one of my caseworkers, I connected with others. And if I couldn't ask the caseworker I didn't connect with, I would ask her supervisor. I would go over her head. Not saying that you should always do that. You should always follow the chain of command. But sometimes you may have to go over her head just to get an answer. I did get most of my answers by going over her head. And, I mean, take advantage of everything that's being offered to you. Don't just think that, okay, I'm just going to go have a baby and then I'm going to be left out there to dry. No, you can take advantage of everything they offer you. They offer to pay for daycare. They paid for daycare until I turned 21. And then after that, they have another agency you can go to keep having pay for daycare. You may have to pay a little, extra, but it won't be as much as paying, because I mean the average rate for my daycare provider is like $21 an hour. She's there from 7 in the morning to maybe 5 in the afternoon. I can't, pay that.
So as you
Workers will sometimes interpret this help-seeking behavior as entitlement. Note that in this first clip, the mom does not seem to be expressing entitlement at all. In this next clip, we will see how these workers perceive entitlement at the root of this kind of help-seeking behavior. Workers in our group claimed that sometimes clients will feel they are entitled to something because they are a ward of the state, that there may be a perception that given the state interfered with the natural family, that the state must make up for that interruption with resources that otherwise may have been provided by family. These workers also recognize that the expression of entitlement is often more a natural function of development rather than a character flaw of the client. In this second clip, workers express some frustration with the way that clients access or ask for resources. The workers decide that the behavior is about being a teen rather than feeling entitled because of their ward status.
They have to go to the laundromat. This is real world activity. You have to know that because you had that label or you have that ward status, that it doesn't exempt you from doing the things that you have to do to survive as an individual in the society. You have to do these things whether you award or not.
A preparation class won't necessarily help because I think a lot of our clients, if you give them money, they know what they need to spend their money on.
Exactly.
They know how to budget, but they're teenagers. That's
Right.
teenagers. Right, because they can get away with it.
They do it because they can get away with it.
Right.
And they know Just like she gave her the gift card, she went and bought everything she wanted.
Right.
And then she know, I'm gonna come back and ask for some money. So she knew that you were gonna come back and give her the stuff for her baby.
Another baby can't go.
Because, exactly.
Right.
You use the example of a regular teenager, and I hate to use the word regular,
No,
because
but you're
that's
right.
still saying that status, but you can give them those examples. Listen, I have a teenage son. He does the same things that you're doing. He's not a ward of the state. And so some of these behaviors that I'm seeing from you, I already understand that it's not because you've been through the system and that it's entitled to you. So I'm trying to lead you in a direction to help you understand that long after BCFS is out of your life, if you go into an interview or anything 10 years later, just by saying you're a ward of the state doesn't push you up to the top of the list. Like, okay, it's been important to me, you know. This is the entitlement. I've been in the system for 10 years. Yeah.
One skill case managers talked about building is the ability to make a mistake or falter in achieving a goal and then get up from the mistake and move forward. In this first clip, Chantal highlights building on strengths.
We have to treat them like people.
And we have to build on their strengths. We have to, like Renita said, not be as judgmental, because it will make the job easier once you build that alliance, and then you will see that the client will go much further than what you had expected when you first had the first meeting with them, because then they'll start to understand, as we tell them often, that it's not really about us, it's about trying to get you to where you need to be.
In this second clip, case managers discuss how they deliver this type of lesson. Please note the lack of judgment the case managers express while still holding high expectations for success.
Important too to like have the expectation that they're gonna go through times when they're gonna fall back. They're gonna experience like periods of unsuccess. They're not gonna do anything for months. They're not gonna go to school. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And to expect that, not to have low expectations for them, but to expect that, so you're not like, I've seen some workers who are like just so disappointed, and then the clients see that and they know if you're disappointed. And I think it's important to let the clients know, you know what, I'm not mad at you, like you're making bad choices right now, I don't agree with your choices, and these are some good choices you can make, but I'm not mad at you and I'm always going to be here. I think that they feel when they disappoint you because they care so much about you, that then it causes them to go further inside of themselves.
I think Renita said it best. We have to treat them like people. We have to treat them like we want to be treated. And we have bad days. We have disappointments. We have things where we have fallen short. And so although we want to raise the bar for them because we see where they could potentially be, we have to understand that there may be pitfalls. There may be situations and circumstances that may cause them to falter or fall back a little bit, but we have to be in a position to kind of bring them back up and say, okay, I know you missed a couple of days of school, or maybe you had some issues with your family, but it's not the end of the world, and here's what we can do to get you back on track. So that gives them motivation to say, okay, it's not that I'm disappointed in you in the fact that you made a mistake, is I want to see you get up from that mistake and move forward.
Interestingly, in our discussion with young mothers, one told a story of just this type of coping. Listen to Darlene's story about getting to a job interview. She appears to understand the story in terms of how difficult it was for her, rather than as a success. This story, however, perfectly illustrates her ability to move through difficult, real-world challenges and find success.
Other people's observation was that you weren't, but at some point you thought, okay, maybe they have a point. What about other people's similar experience or?
I'll piggyback on what she's saying, but I was the opposite. I wasn't ready. Everybody else felt that I was ready. And then when I finally got out there by myself, I like hit rock bottom, way rock bottom, where all my attention was on my child and I didn't think about myself. I wasn't trying to take care of myself. I just wake up and just go. You know what I'm saying? And when I say like a couple of weeks when I was emancipated out of there, I needed someone to watch my child. I couldn't find no one at all. Not even my family, not my friends, no one. And that was the day I was supposed to go to the job and start work, you feel me? So it's like, when you don't have the support there, you just feel, what's the word? You just feel lost. Like you're in a black hole, don't know how to get out of there, you know what I'm saying? But that day, I saw light. I just took her with me, took all her toys, possibly as much as I possibly can carry with me, kept her occupied, and when they interviewed me, they gave me the job. But at the same time, I wasn't set where I was in my own place. I was living with my auntie, and she goes to work. She has no kids. I couldn't find a babysitter. I couldn't do what a mother's supposed to do for her child because I don't have that support. Like right now, I still don't have that support. But I just try to make the best out of every situation.
Setting boundaries is an art rather than a science. It is useful to be clear about boundaries and expectations and understand why you have boundaries where you have them. Understand how boundaries can strengthen a relationship, be clear, humane, and show care. Setting boundaries is a method for caring for both the client and for yourself. Vast differences will emerge between how and where boundaries are set. Given previous slides, setting boundaries should be done as a part of a trust building and expectation setting early in a relationship. Boundary setting is a cooperative process between the client and the worker. In this first clip, workers struggle with the complex web of services that clients have received in the past. Clients learn how to access services in different ways depending on what caseworkers of the past have told them. Given the high rate of change from one caseworker to another, clients are exposed to many different boundaries and expectations. Workers struggle to understand the outcome of this instability within the system and the lack of continuity between case managers. What appears to be entitled behavior from clients is more likely to be a lack of consistency in protocol between past workers and current workers.
The other thing is that they have a misinterpretation of the system. They have two sides of it. They think that they're warranted and they are entitled to everything. And then on the other end, they have so many different ways that people present things to them that by the time you get them, they have 5 different ways they can tell you why they need to get so-and-so or why you're supposed to give it to them.
Exactly.
So
And
they're
supposed.
they've become good advocates for themselves within this
If they think it's something they want, then they need, yeah.
But one thing about our clients,
They're supposed to get,
right.
yeah.
But one thing about our clients, they are able to advocate for themselves. It's just about how they go about it and what they're advocating for. With this whole system, you're supposed to take me to the doctor.
You're supposed to get, I'm supposed to get my hair done.
You're supposed to give me a clothing voucher. You're supposed to give me a TG.
Oh, they want to close out every month.
Exactly.
I want to go back to what I said about the parenting. You know, you're my parent, basically.
Yeah.
You know, you are supposed to fill that role. And all these things that are attached with that, you're supposed to do. And so when we try to get them back on the professional side of where we are, they get frustrated because it's like you may have, all workers have different styles and delivery. And where you want to keep a line and a boundary, unfortunately in this field that may not happen all the time. And so you don't know who they've come across in their lifetime. And then by, you know, when you get them, they can't understand why you can't do some of those personal things, or why is hair and nails not on there? You know, it's like, well, I don't know who told you that, but that's not a requirement.
Right, so you put
Right, and so they say some things are done incentive-wise,
You know.
and everybody doesn't give incentives. We have to kind of go through that kind of, let me explain to you how this works. And by them being untrusting, they're like, okay, you're just another person coming in telling me something different. But the reality is each agency operates differently. Each person operates differently. And so where someone may have came in and told you, I'll give you $50 to get your nails done. Well, okay, over here, that's an incentive. And in order to get that, you need to work towards getting that. And so the clients get frustrated with you very easily because they're like, but they told me, or my peers told me. It is hard to kind of get them regrouped.
And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that's
In
the
the beginning, they
age
try
part of
anyway.
them.
The frustration these workers express is real and valid, and so is the frustration of clients as rules and expectations shift from worker to worker. In this second clip, Sabrina talks about a particularly difficult experience she had when a client broke her expectation of the closeness of their relationship.
It really touched me personally because this young lady had never been in school since the 6th grade. She had been physically abused, sexually abused, and neglected pretty much all her life. So I wanted to take her in and just wrap my arms around her and show her something other than what she was used to. And the report was there. She would call and talk to me. I would go see her at least 2 or 3 times a week just to be that support. And she went on Ron, and I haven't seen her. So I think for me, kind of not sticking to just being that worker, and also trying to be that support, it kind of conflicted because she just left.
And you felt when
Betrayed. I felt hurt because I feel that by spending so much time with her and talking to her and her opening up about everything that went on with her family and her history, that she would talk to me first before just going on Rob, and she didn't.
In this clip, Sabrina shows the challenge inherent in doing this work. Deeply caring about a client and shifting boundaries to bring a client closer. No matter how much work clients and workers do together, their relationship must be understood within the context of the larger environment of stress and instability in a client's life. Clients must make many difficult choices in order to survive, and these choices are often limited and do not reflect the impact of an individual's relationship, but rather the larger context of a client's life. We found that our panel of former clients had a tremendous amount of empathy, patience, and feedback for those that they had worked with in the foster care system. In short, they recommended that workers show care in action, recognize accomplishments, listen, and pay attention to detail. Please click each of the links for some direct and well-spoken feedback from each of these accomplished young women.
Workers focus on the troubled children, the ones that make it obvious that they're troubled. They need to focus on the ones that they think that are doing really well, and give them some attention as well. I think that was my problem, was they saw me as doing so well that they didn't focus on me and pay attention to what it was that I really was going through. I think that they kind of just need to balance out their time with their kids. And as well, like what she was saying, if you're making an appointment with me, be there. Don't call me at the time of the appointment and tell me you're running late or you can't be there. You're setting an example for us. What is that showing us? You're an adult, you're trying to teach us how to be an adult, yet you don't even have your priorities straight. My priorities were more straight than a lot of my caseworkers. I was the one on time. They were always running late, or they would just not show up. That's very irresponsible, and if you don't like your job, then I don't understand why you're doing it, because caseworkers don't get paid a lot in the first place, It's something that you really have to have a heart for, and that's why if you have a heart for it, then show it.
Be aware of when we need support and aware of the good that we're doing. Because it was a period of time that I was moving from level 2 to level 3 to level 4, and I got no recognition for it. It was just like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? But when the troubled kids are doing something, all the attention is like directly focused to them, and at one point you feel like, oh man, maybe I should act up, maybe I'll get some recognition, but it gets better later.
To all caseworkers, I know y'all have a lot on y'all plate, but it would not hurt for you to just take 5 minutes of your time to spend with your clients to figure out what they want and what they need. Listen, do more listening than talking, because that's where most kids go off and be like, after this, I'm going to do me. You know what I'm saying? They be getting in trouble, then you got to deal with the troubled children. You feel me? you do more listening and care, actually act like you care. If you really don't and you're doing this for the money, act like it. Show us that you care, you feel me? And take an initiative that y'all ain't the only one that's doing hard work. Brian's been in this program, dealing with all the other females and all the males' behavior. It's hard for us, you know what I'm saying? Because we ain't used to that type of environment. We used to environments that with our parents, you know what I'm saying? And don't assume that we know it all and we can do this. Some people like me, I'm not perfect in a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? I still have problems like my reading, you know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to comprehend. Most people ain't gonna tell you that they have problems. They're gonna hide, you know what I'm saying, behind a big old wall. So for us to open up and let y'all know what's really going on, talk, listen, that's all.
The caseworkers who didn't really want to extend their hand and not, I mean, I'm not saying that all caseworkers should get personal with every client because I know they have a lot, but I mean, to get just a little personal will be okay. Remember certain things I tell you last time we met, you know, I mean, I understand you have a full load, but remember little things. If you remember that we said that we're going to go out to eat last time you met, or that I said I wanted to, I don't know, just little things. I mean, kind of get a little personal. Some caseworkers just didn't do that. So to the caseworkers I had, I appreciate all the help, and I appreciate that all the efforts you put into, you know, helping me get where I am. To caseworkers who didn't, I mean, thank you, but I mean, you could have did a little bit more. It could have been more personal.